So you've set your goal. You're making things happen. You're moving forward. And so life is actually supposed to be getting better, right? I mean, maybe it's something with your physical fitness. You wanted to let go of a few pounds, or maybe the doctor told you, you need to watch it. You might be pre-diabetic. And so, yeah, you're working out. And then all of a sudden, you feel that tickle going on in your throat. Maybe that the lungs feel a little congested and you're like, "Oh my gosh, with everything that's going on right now, I'm afraid that it's more than just what the common cold is. Better bundle up, stay inside, don't go outdoors, finish my workouts, don't go to the gym. Oh my gosh, to stop." Or maybe it's with finances. Like, hey, had some extra income coming in, so I'm gonna put that away just in case something might come up. And gosh darn it, now the refrigerator is starting to make funny noises, or the microwave seems to be cycling on and off. Why can't I ever seem to get a firm foundation underneath me? Could it be that you decided that you need to reconnect with some people? Things have been challenging. So you want to bring those people in even closer. Maybe it's a significant other, or you're reaching out to make a concerted effort with those friends. And then it seems like stuff, it just keeps blowing up. It's like, why can't you seem to get along with them? Or maybe you chose to go back to school so you can advance your career. And as soon as you do, all the previous levels with your health and your money and your relationships seem to blow up on you. What's up with this? Well, we've got two things that we need to deal with today. That when fear and overwhelm try to steal your goals, your dreams, when they try to tell you, don't bother, it's not for you. We need to get you stabilized as quick as possible. We need to get you back on a firm foundation. So that's the first thing that we need to look at today. But then the second thing we want to look at is you were conditioned and programmed to have this fear and overwhelm. You were actually taught to go into this state. And here's the thing, anything that's been learned can be relearned. But until we understand what the fear and overwhelm is actually meeting for you, what need it's meeting for you, even in a dysfunctional way, it is still doing something for you in your life, or you wouldn't repeat it. Until we find the cause, you will continue to repeat the symptoms. And we can't look at just treating symptoms, because when we do, then they'll just go underground in that area and then show up someplace else to cause you problems. Okay, so for those of you who have joined me live, if you have any questions, hey, reach out. Um, give me a shout out. I'll do my best to answer it live. For those of you that are catching this on Stop the Self-Sabotage and Create the Life You Desire podcast, you can reach out to me 636-699-7791. Or you can go to canhypnosishelpyou.com and see a link to where we can chat, get your questions answered that way. All right. So overwhelm and fear, go back to the last time you experienced it. I know when I did, Saturday, yeah, teaching a new class of certified hypnotist. And I have to send them materials that are worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars on my end that I have to pay for. Sending it out to someone and looking up to see that they received it, and it said, yes, they received it. And they were like, no, I didn't. And I'm like, freaking porch pirates? Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. I don't want to have this come out of my pocket. And then I realized, oh, you know what? Maybe we need to look at upgrading on how we ship these things. Because, see, when you go into fear and when you go into overwhelm, there's a message. And the message is saying that there's something you need to take action on. There's something you need to deal with. But if you are not used to listening to yourself as far as there's a reason why I'm feeling like this, and instead go along with the symptoms of tunnel vision and getting yourself all amped up, and you can't really breathe and you can't see your way out because all you're doing is looking at the obstacle instead of looking at it as an opportunity to upgrade something that you've got going on in your life, which is exactly what's going on because your subconscious mind only operates under urgency. See, habits and patterns that are in place for either success or failure all were put into place because there was an urgency. You learned to brush your teeth because there was an urgency of mom didn't want to have to take care of it for you, or dad didn't want to have to smell your stinky breath. And the same way with learning to take a shower and dress yourself, everything you experienced in life that turned into a habit and pattern was because there was a sense of urgency. You need to get this done now. Think about you not taking a shower for a few days. Happened to my mom just a couple of weeks ago when she was having a problem with the septic tank. And she's like, oh, cannot handle feeling like this. Sense of urgency, subconscious going, need to get this taken care of. But what you did was you learned to stay in the overwhelm and the fear instead of taking action on the message. So it's here to tell you something needs to be addressed. So do not look at the symptoms. All right, what do you need to do to stabilize yourself? Same things that I used to stabilize myself whenever I went into the overwhelming fear and said, oh, maybe I need to change how I ship things to people. And if they can't sign for it, it doesn't get left. But that's the message. What are we going to do with the experience, with the intense emotional experience we're in at the moment? We need to stabilize you. That's the first thing that we're going to look at today. So how do you stabilize? I'm going to give you 3 ways that you can do it. The easiest way is going to be breathing. 4x4 breathing. Breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, out for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, out for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4. Kind of getting the gist here. I'll tell you what, I gave this to somebody who is experiencing what's known as panic and anxiety disorder. Now, I can't treat disorders because disorders say you need to be on medication. I do not prescribe medication. And instead, what I do is I do transfer of authority for empowerment. I give you the tools to be able to handle it on your own. Now, maybe you might need meds to go along with it. That's not for me to say, but I say, you know what? You'll never outperform your inner identity, and we need that inner identity to be upgraded to say, I don't have to be dependent on something outside of me to make me okay. So, gave this 4x4 breathing to somebody, and I said, you know what? Just a couple of minutes of this. Well, 2 hours. 2 hours is how long they engaged in it. Why? Because they knew that 2 hours that they were going to be spending was going to really upset somebody else. So they went into overwhelming fear and then decided to use the 4x4 breathing as an excuse to punish somebody else. Remember how I said, you're getting your needs met in a dysfunctional way with the overwhelming fear. And that's one of the things that is the foundation is you get to point your finger at somebody else and go, I'm in the overwhelming fear because of you. But we'll get into that in just a little bit. Okay. Whoa. Stabilization, breathing, just a couple of minutes on it. I got my smartwatch and I can actually monitor at a minute where it's breathe in, breathe out. What this does is it begins to calm the different pathways within you that have fired off. So we just need them to settle down. Another way that you can stabilize yourself is 90 seconds of brisk physical activity. This is one of my favorite ways because, you've got all these chemicals coursing through your system going, do something. And while breathing can assist you, especially if you have to be in the middle of a meeting and cannot get up and start doing jumping jacks or high steps, okay, just breathing to keep you from wanting to express your opinions about someone else that maybe it's just not the place for it. Okay, the 90 seconds of brisk physical activity begins to then settle down using those chemicals. Again, we're all about stabilization when you go into fear and overwhelm. What you can do to reset. So you've got the breathing that begins to help you refocus, go from the tunnel vision and begin to expand what you see. The 90 seconds of brisk physical activity uses those chemicals up and begins to calm you inside. But 10 minutes of brisk physical activity, especially outside, will help you reset. It's what do we do when we can't get something to load correctly? We reboot it, right? Just power it off and power it back on. This is your power on and off button. So when you're in the middle of a situation and you feel like, oh my gosh, the fear, the overwhelm, some call it panic and anxiety. Again, I can't do that. But the distress, the not feeling well, 10 minutes. 10 minutes of brisk physical activity, get out of the situation and reset yourself. These are all things that can begin to stabilize you. Look up serotonin. Serotonin is a stabilization drug. I was talking about this to one of my private clients just last night. Serotonin is a stabilization drug, and it's what we need to have for a firm foundation underneath us. Look up and see how you can establish serotonin in your life, because we need to change it out for dopamine. Dopamine is a hit you get as a reward. And for a lot of people, they've been trained to go into overwhelm and fear and either shut down or lash out when they're in that state. And because they were trained and conditioned to either shut down and be the rock that everybody else relies on, and oh my gosh, I have to sacrifice myself so everybody else can be okay. And guess what happens? Because they were programmed and conditioned to do that, they get a hit of dopamine. No different than a drug addict getting a hit of dopamine when they get their fix. You can get your fix met for dysfunctional needs. And then it fires off your reward center. And now you're going to continue to look for ways to be in overwhelm and fear, because that's what you were conditioned and programmed to do. And every time you go there, you can get a hit of dopamine. Your reward center fires off. Is that not freaked up? We need to exchange that hit of getting rewarded for bad behavior, not your fault. You were programmed to do it, but now you got to take 100% responsibility for turning this around. We need to then begin to replace potentially serotonin, which is a firm foundation, stabilization, that you're going to get the message. And you don't have to go into overwhelm and fear, not for very long, before you understand what's really happening and then say, okay, great. How can we move forward with this? So I gave you ways to stabilize, and that's going to be short term. But now we need to go into the 4 pieces of long term, because you are going to experience this. There's no ifs on it. It's just when. So we want to look at danger days. We want to look at needs getting met in a dysfunctional way. We want to look at safe problems. And we want to look at your current identity is out of alignment. It is incongruent. It is out of harmony with what where you want to go with your goal. This is long term. All right. So danger days. Anytime you set a goal and you're going after it, there are going to be times when you can expect things to fall apart. 72 hours, 7 to 10 days, or 6 to 10, right around there. 3 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, and 12 to 13 weeks. So you set a goal, you're going after it. First 72 hours, that's how long it takes to let go of a habit and pattern. Only 72 hours. But those 72 hours can be a roller coaster. Now, whenever I work with clients utilizing hypnosis, and we know that they're experiencing fear and overwhelm, I give them a tool to take that fear and overwhelm and turn it into extra energy to get more done with less effort. Yes, because that's what you've got coursing through you are all these chemicals that say, get up and do something. If I ask the general public, when you go into a fear state, oh my gosh, I can't have my goals. When you go into overwhelm, oh, I have too much to do. What would you like to experience instead? And almost every single person says, oh, tranquility and peace and zen. Hey, guess what? Not going to happen. Fear and overwhelm are a highly energized state. Unfortunately, you're focusing inward at yourself at this highly energized state. So if you were to take a ruler and say fear and overwhelm is at one end, what's going to be at the other end? It's still going to be a highly energized state. But instead of focusing it inward on you, it's going to be focused outward on what you want to achieve. So that's excitement and passion. And this isn't based on me. This is based on two psychologists at the Harvard Mind Body Clinic who discovered that with elite performers, they're still under the same amount of pressure, stress, and strain as the rest of us. It's just what they do with it and how they've reframed it. So I utilize hypnosis and I give people a tool that says when it shows up, you're just going to convert it into extra energy to get more done with less effort. Because that's what peak performers do. They don't try to avoid the overwhelming fear, they use it. Okay, so danger days, your first 72 hours, you're going to be on a roller coaster. And people are going, oh, it's going to be so hard. Well, it's going to be however hard you feel like you have to make it to earn your worth. Oh, that's one of those needs getting met in a dysfunctional way. Everything has to be so hard. I have to put my nose to the grindstone. Uh, well, yeah, if you wanted to shave off part of your face. No, what you have to do is you have to learn to master these states instead of them telling you what to do. Okay, so danger days. It takes 72 hours to let go of something. It's going to be as hard as you want to make it. Then days 6 to 10, 7 to 10, because now you're going, ooh, I really can do this. But this is when you start questioning yourself. Do I believe I can do it? No, you don't believe you can do it. People say, oh, change your beliefs and you'll change your life. You know what beliefs are based on changing them after age 13? Consistent action for 91 days. That's how long it takes to change a belief. It only takes 66 days roughly to change a habit. But it takes 91 days to upgrade an identity. So no, you don't believe you can do it. So when you question yourself, don't think, oh, no, I really can't. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're being a drama mama or a drama king because you were trained to get attention that way. Look at how I have to sacrifice for everybody. Yeah, and again, we're going to get into that in just a moment. But you're doing it because you've been taught to connect to others through problems instead of progress, which is the reason why I can help somebody let go of something. It only takes one hypnosis session to walk away from something, to walk into the identity that you need to experience to turn that goal, that dream into reality. I tell people, yeah, that takes 4 sessions. We look at working together for 2 to 3 months because of the identity upgrade, because you have to have the beliefs there. So when they show up, 6 to 10 days, questioning you. Can we really do it? It's asking the conscious part of you to reaffirm, yeah, we're going to find the ways to make this happen. No, we're not there yet. That's okay. I understand why the questioning is showing up. It's wanting to test my resolve and my perseverance, and we're going to make this happen. We're going to have setbacks. You've got to plan to have setbacks. When I take someone through dreams into reality, I say, okay, now what's the plan for whenever things go south? What's the future you want to avoid, and what do we need to put together for when things hit the fan? Or at this time of year, I like to say, when Frosty's poop hits the snowblower. And people are going, well, no, I'm supposed to be focusing on my goal and how to get there. You're not a peak performer. You're in the mediocre masses, because it's not all going to work out. We need to plan for that before it ever gets here. And then 3 weeks, because it takes 3 weeks for emotional optimization. It takes 3 weeks before you begin to feel like you've got a handle on this. And right around that time, you're open to going back to the other emotions of the overwhelm, the fear, the drama, the crisis, the chaos, confusion, because your subconscious mind must have emotional energy to run off of. Every habit and every pattern you have put into place, whether for success or failure, is based off of emotional motivators. And you're realizing that although you're developing your emotional muscle for optimization and learning to ride these waves, you haven't fully realized it. And your mind's going, you know what? We were getting more of a kick off the crisis, chaos, and drama than we are off of the feelings of being stable and making improvements every single day. So let's go back to that. Plan on it. By the way, somebody created this in your life, this challenge you're experiencing. It's the human condition. You need someone's assistance to move you forward on it. Now, you can move away from something utilizing hypnosis with one session. It's going to take more than that to move into the identity to turn dreams into reality. But the fact that you keep trying to do it on your own, you watch a video, you read a book, you take a class, you listen to a podcast, further reinforces that previous identity that you have to do all of this all on your own, and you have to sacrifice to carry the weight of the world for others, because you're using a safe problem, because you were wounded before when you asked for assistance. And so you're using this as a safe problem. But we'll talk about that in number 3. We're still talking about danger days. Okay, so then week 6 to 8, right around that time of we're really establishing a firm foundation for your habit and pattern. And then the weeks 12 to 13, because now we're looking at your identity upgrade. These are all danger days, times you will backslide into the old identity of being overwhelmed, of being fear, because you get more of an emotional hit off of it. So just know that, and you got to put together a plan on how to address it. Okay, step number 2, you're getting your needs met in a dysfunctional way with the blame, shame, complain. Yeah, there's what's known as the core 4. Certainty, variety, worthiness, and validation. So certainty shows up dysfunctional when you point your finger at somebody else and go, I can't move forward because of you. You've been taught to hand your power away to other people for them to make you okay. Yeah, you have to take 100% responsibility for making this okay for yourself. You know, the most dangerous words that can ever be uttered are, I'm here to fix you because you're broken and you're flawed and you don't know how to do it on your own. No, You've got everything you need within you to turn your dreams into reality. It is already present. You just don't know how to activate it on your own. That's all. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed ever. You've just learned to get your needs met in a dysfunctional way. That's all. And so you were taught that you to blame other people and you can't move forward until they're better. Are we seeing a problem with this? Because they're not going to improve. So you improve and then you decide if you want to stay in the relationship with them. But then that goes to the safe problem, doesn't it? On number 3, that, oh, that opens up an entire new conundrum, doesn't it? That, oh my gosh, if I get better, then I have to decide if I want to keep going back to what made me sick. And so you'll distract yourself. Okay. The second thing is you were taught to get your emotional needs met by there always being a lot of emotional energy of crisis, chaos, and confusion. Oh my gosh. Why? Because you get bored of always pointing your finger at somebody else and going, this is your problem, and I can't be better until you get fixed. And so your brain gets tired of that, and it wants to escalate things. By the way, out of these 4, you have one that you're very most favorite. And so it will escalate things by saying, how bad can it get? And it will find out because you've learned to put yourself into a corner, you're back against the wall before you'll push off with that energy that you've been building up, and you've got all of this momentum, and now you'll push off and start taking a flurry of activity and actions to turn your goal into reality. But if this is you, because you'll find that you procrastinate a lot because you love the energy hit you get off of it, you can't sustain this. So you've got this big influx of energy, and then you wear yourself out real quick, and then you go low, and then, oh, now you got to point your finger at everybody, so it all builds up, and now we've got another breakdown. I see this happen with people that go from money problems to health problems to relationship problems to career problems. Now we're back at a health problem, and they're like, oh my gosh, it seems like this black cloud follows me around everywhere I go. Yes, you are conditioned and programmed to put people into these places to cause you these problems because you love the energy you get off of it. Okay. The third need you can get met in a dysfunctional way because, well, you're pointing your finger at others and you're saying you're the problem, and now I've got all of this crisis going on because of you. The subconscious mind gets tired of you pointing the finger at everybody else with the problem, and it wants to get attention, and this is when you learn to get importance. You get importance. The spotlight turns back on you because each level builds on the level previously. And so you get importance being met of, oh my gosh, I must sacrifice myself for everybody, for them to be okay. Or I must go in and save them because they can't do it all on their own. So now you make the drama in your life something that you can actually do something about instead of always pointing fingers at other people. Now you're going to point it at yourself and go, oh, look at me and what I must do. And yeah, it's literally with that much theatrics. Okay. And then you go to the final level. By the way, that's a level of worthiness. Oh, look at me. To be worthy in life, this is what I must do. Okay. That's simply what you were conditioned and programmed to do. And you will find that people to put in the places for you to live that out. You will disempower others so you can be enabled to be a codependent. All right. Simply your programming and conditioning. Remember how I said there's 4 levels, and one of these is your very most favorite. The last one is validation. And this is when you really wanted love, but you learned to survive on the crumbs of connection by connecting to others through painful problems. You know, I had a couple of people in my life that I was close to, and last fall, um, because of some different things that were going on in our environment here in the United States, all they could do was talk about the problems. There's a very old adage, I think it's from the 60s. You're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. But all they wanted to do was talk about problems. And so, remember what I said earlier? You can't be healthy emotionally, physically, mentally if you keep going back to what made you sick. And I had to step out of a relationship with them. Not sure I'm stepping back in just yet, but I had to step out of a relationship with people that I was very, very close to because of their focus on dis-ease. And by the way, you focus on dis-ease externally and won't be long before it shows up internally. I had to step away from them and say, I can't be in that toxic environment. If you were to find out that you had cancer, you would do everything to get rid of that cancer as quick as possible. And yet, we've been taught to connect with others through problems because we so crave those relationships. But if it's a relationship built on illness, mentally, emotionally, and physically, you're never going to get to health. I believe it was Carl Jung who said, you cannot get people well by studying disease. All you can do is learn how to treat the disease. If you want to know how people can be healthy, you've got to study health. And you've learned to get your personality needs met in one of these ways dysfunctionally. And this is the reason why you keep going back to the overwhelm and fear. But the wonderful thing is the law of polarity. Phew, I'm going a little bit long today, guys. I hope that's okay with you. The law of polarity says that everything is created as a whole. And that means for every problem, there's progress. For every pain in your life, there is a purpose to bring you out in a way that's actually going to produce the dreams that you want to live. But in order to do that, you've got to give the pain a purpose to bring you out at your magnificence. Okay, number 3, safe problems. You will use the overwhelm and fear as a way to distract you from something that you're not taking care of. So, number 1 is we've got our danger days. We've set a goal. We're going after it. And we've got the danger days where we need to have a plan put together because Frosty's poop is going to hit the snowblower during those times. So we need a way to give that pain a new meaning for our magnificence. Then number 2, we have to look at how we're getting our needs met dysfunctionally, and now how to get those same needs met in a healthy way. What's on the other side of those? And then we want to say, how have we been distracted of claiming our power by using this problem because we're going to have to take responsibility for some things going on in our life. And so we're using that fear and that overwhelm to distract us from the fact we may have to do something about our relationships. that there is an area where we're not asking for our worth. We're not loving ourselves. We're expecting others to do it for us. We're handing our power away. And there are some things that we're going to have to do that may not feel good, but we're going to have to take responsibility. And we're using the overwhelm and the fear as a way to distract us from something that we don't know that we can handle. And you're correct from saying that you don't know if you can handle it. You are 100% spot on with that, because that leads us to number 4. Your current identity is in direct contradiction to the identity that you need to have in order to turn your dream into reality. Out of the core 4 levels that I gave you, certainty, variety, worthiness, and validation, your goal, your dream turned into reality, lives in one of those levels. And the identity that you must begin to nurture and nourish and develop, but you're not. You're coming at one of the other levels. And this is the reason why your dream has not turned into reality. Is because who you are right now is not who you need to be to experience the results of this goal. And why don't you have that identity developed? No one taught you how to develop it. So out of the core 4, the certainty, variety, worthiness, and validation, you were taught the level that someone else needed you to be for them to be okay. You weren't taught how to bring yourself out at your magnificence. You weren't taught how to turn on your brilliance. So you have one of these that holds your wound. By the way, abandonment, rejection, unworthiness, and invalidation. Abandonment, you don't follow through on things. Rejection, you'll reject moving forward before the dream or goal has a chance to reject you. Unworthiness shows up with, I'm never good enough. Guess what? You're never going to be good enough. Surprise! There's always something new to explore, to discover, to learn about yourself. So you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable around the fact you are never going to be good enough. And the last one, validation, the wound there is there's never enough. You're right. There is never going to be enough. Even Jesus told his disciples, there's always going to be the poor among us. Does that mean we give up? No, we always look for ways to make resources and resourcefulness available to others. There's always going to be a new area to grow and to expand into. And so the seed of that wound is what holds you going to the next level. But you got to create your own urgency around it. Instead of relying on the fear and the overwhelm to distract you from really what needs to be done, you've got to begin to say, you know what? I need to take action instead of waiting for the crisis, chaos, and confusion to show up, because it will. So I've got to find a way to take action today. All right, so we're going to wrap up with your plan of action here. If this is making sense to you, I'm going to give you 2 options. Because remember, we said that you either need to walk away from something, a dysfunctional way of handling life, or you need to walk into your identity. If this has resonated with you, then there's the potential that I'm the one that can assist you with this. If you want to look at a single hypnosis session that takes that fear, that drama, that chaos, that confusion, that overwhelm, and turns it into extra energy for success, we need to be talking about this. Reach out to me at 636-699-7791. You can leave me a voicemail, or you can send me a text saying that you want to consult with me. You've got to say with me, so you do not wind up getting one of my interns. So 636-699-7791. Now, if you're like, well, what would it look like to actually move into the identity for the dream turned into reality? Then go to drewdawnferguson.com/DIR, Dreams into Reality. There's the program there that I lay out, the entire system that we would be using for you to then upgrade into the level that you need to be at. And it's a system that you can repeat again and again, but you need to know something. Being able to access this program closes in just a few days, because your subconscious mind will only accept suggestions based on certain times of the year, and turning a dream into reality, well, that's the beginning of the year. Okay, we got big goals we want to go after, and so this system only resonates with the subconscious this time of year. So yeah, there's urgency. drewdawnferguson.com/DIR, Dreams into Reality. I'm closing it at the end of the month, which means that, well, actually in just a few days, I'm closing it Friday, which means if you go to look at it after that, you're going to see this program is closed. So let's look at your plan of action. Step number 1. When you go into fear, when you go into overwhelm, you need to stabilize yourself. Let's look at the 3 ways you can stabilize. 4x4 breathing, 90 seconds to use up the chemicals that are coursing through you, 10 minutes to reset. I went over all of those at the very beginning. Now, moving into the identity for you to turn your dreams into reality. So that's going to be step number 2. Know your danger days. Step number 3, how do you get your needs met in a dysfunctional way? Step number 4, distracting yourself with a safe problem because you don't know how to handle what's really going on. Not your fault. You were programmed and conditioned for that, but you've got to take responsibility for step number 5, upgrading your identity that is congruent with your dreams. Okay. It is time for you to turn on your brilliance, your magnificence, because the world's a pretty dark place, in case you haven't noticed. We need your light more than ever. So quit allowing people, places, and things to steal your electricity and your energy, so you walk around in life like a dimwit, because you're dumbed down, because all of that energy is flowing to something outside of you. Time to take your power back. Turn yourself on at your very brightest. And I'd be honored if I could assist you with this. Okay, so until we get together again, blessings on your brilliance.